Cultural Interface with Ivan Moreno. Every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Cultural Interface presents discussions about the ways in which culture creates and transforms individual experiences, everyday life, social relations, and power. The topics we'll address: new questions and problems of today's world. Cultural Interface with Ivan Moreno, founder of Zion International University.
Hi everybody, this is Ivan Moreno. You're listening now to Cultural Interface, a radio show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on AM 1470, or you can listen online at www.nnradio.com. You can also call toll-free at 1-888-565-1470. Okay, today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic, which is the Matrix. I know you're wondering why I'm going to talk about the Matrix in a cultural show. Well, let me tell you something. When I was studying language back at school, I remember I was taking the linguistics class, and my teacher told us that reality doesn't exist. And I was like, oh my God, what is she talking about? And then I learned that when you study language, language is a way to express the reality that is supposed to be out there. And I say out there because actually that's something that even scientists today are beginning to question. So when you study language, you actually are referring to an interpretation of the world, an interpretation of what surrounds us. But that interpretation changes from society to society, and everyone has a different interpretation of the world, of the reality. And some people have wondered what reality is. And I have been doing a lot of reading, research, and I found something very interesting that I wanted to share with all of you tonight. And it's something that a scientist wrote. His name... Okay, I'm going to read first what he said. Actually, he is a British scientist. His name is Nick Bostrom, and he said something very interesting, and I want to share this with you, and maybe we're gonna talk about this a little bit today. He's actually saying that we live in a simulation, that this is like a game. When you play a video game, it's a simulation, but you feel as if it were true. You actually feel through the characters of the game. So he's saying that according to some equations and I don't know what else he's doing in the laboratory, he ended up saying that we live in a simulation, and this simulation is part of a huge supercomputer made by very, very high intelligences. Anyways, I found this article, and actually the NASA talk about it, and I'm gonna read it to you because I think I found this interesting. Well, it says like this. I'm gonna read about Terrell, Rich Terrell, which is one of NASA's scientists. He's the director of the Center for Evolutionary Computation and Automated Design at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He said, right now, the fastest NASA supercomputers are cranking away at about double the speed of the human brain. If you make a simple calculation using Moore's law, which roughly claims computers double in power every 2 years, you'll find that these supercomputers inside of a decade will have the ability to compute an entire human lifetime of 80 years, including every thought ever conceived during that lifetime in the span of a month. So, in other words, you know that technology is been advancing so fast that right now, let's for example, we have the iPhone 6 now, we have iPhone S, and then they are gonna launch very soon the iPhone 7. So like that's one of the examples of how technology is really advancing, and everything is becoming very very fast, and computers are building computers. So our technology is developing so fast that we humans, let's say, we are out of date. We need a lot of training to learn how to use these new technologies, and that's why we have all these companies working on training programs for other companies, because the technology is so advanced right now, and they make so many things nowadays that everybody gets out of date like so easily, so fast. So okay, I'm gonna continue what he said. He said, in quantum mechanics, particles do not have a definite state unless they are being observed. Many theorists have spent a lot of time trying to figure out how you explain this. One explanation is that we're living within a simulation, seeing what we need to see when we need to see it. What I found inspiring is that even if we are in a simulation or many orders of magnitude down in levels of simulation, somewhere along the line something escaped the primordial ooze to become us and to result in simulations that made us, and that's cool. Okay, in other words, he's saying that according to theory, it is perfectly possible that we are in a simulation. And if that is and if that's true, he's saying that is cool. I mean, he doesn't see it like a negative thing. That is cool that this is part of a simulation. So this is something that really inspired a lot of movies, like the movie The Matrix, which actually I know a lot of people have seen this movie, and I know we're talking about science fiction, but actually that is a science fiction movie based on some hypothesis, like some actually the hypothesis called the simulation hypothesis. And this simulation hypothesis says that reality as we know it is in fact a simulation, or a computer simulation, of which we, the simulants, are totally unaware. In other words, we don't know that we are in a computer simulation. And even some versions rely on the development of simulated reality, a fictional technology. And this is what Nick Brosnan said. This is a comment, and I found this very interesting. He said the simulation argument is perhaps the first interesting argument for the existence of a creator in 2,000 years. So, of course, there are a lot of questions arising from this theory, from this hypothesis. Of course, there are people, especially scientists, that don't agree with this. We have, for instance, we have Professor Peter Millikan from the Oxford University. He's saying that this hypothesis is flawed. He said something like, the theory seems to be based on the assumption that superminds would do things in much the same way as we would do them. If they think this world is a simulation, then why do they think the superminds who are outside the simulation would be constrained by the same sort of thoughts and methods that we are? And he ends up saying, it is an interesting idea, and it's healthy to have some crazy ideas. You don't want to censor ideas according to whether they seem sensible or not, because sometimes important new advances will seem crazy to start with. So what he's saying is that this hypothesis has a lot of flaws, but even though it's a crazy idea to think about it, I think, I mean, he doesn't actually reject that crazy idea, but that crazy idea needs to be proven somehow. So what I'm doing right now is I'm giving you some information about that there is a theory, the simulation theory, and there is also like scientists that are saying that this needs to be proven somehow. That is crazy. Yes, it's crazy, but it is also possible according to quantum physics and quantum mechanics. So why should we care about that? Whether we agree with that or not, whether we believe in that or not, I think we should actually we should actually think of how this can like give me something in my life, like is this gonna help me somehow, is this gonna solve all my problems, is this gonna make me a happier person? Well, maybe yes, maybe not. But I also found a very interesting book. It's called The Divine Matrix, written by Greg Braden, and he also writes about the Matrix. He also writes about this simulation or simulated reality, but he's saying that actually, if we look at it from a different point of view, we're gonna find that this concerns us all, and that we call it divine, because he says that this matrix was created by a very super intelligent entity or being or whatever you want to call it, and somehow we're part of it. I'm going to read a part of his book that I found very fascinating. It says, "The divine matrix is our world. It is also everything in our world. It is us and all that we love, hate, create, and experience. Living in the divine matrix, we are artists expressing our innermost passions, fears, dreams, and desires through the essence of a mysterious quantum canvas. But we are the canvas, as well as the images upon the canvas. We are the paints, as well as the brushes." I found this very interesting. Because if indeed there is a matrix, if indeed there is a simulation that we see as a reality, as the reality, but if we think of ourselves as the artists that are expressing our own art in that world, and our own art in the way of feelings, of emotions like love, hate, and all those emotions, like we already talked about emotions. So actually we are the painters and we are painting everything. Sometimes people think like, why is this world like, why do bad things happen in this world? Why do we have we have earthquakes? Like we just had an earthquake in Chile, and we have earthquakes. We have a natural disaster. It's been raining a lot in Florida. Actually, I think there was a tornado or almost a tornado. So some people say, so why we live in a world that is full of dangers and bad things happening to people, but actually if we think of the world as a matrix, I mean the possibility that it is a matrix, now we can find answers to that. We can find answers that if we are the painters of this world, now we understand why there's so much variety in this world, diversity, why there everything can happen in this world, all the possibilities. You find everything in this world. And actually that makes us think or have a different perspective on our lives, that if actually we were living in a simulation, now the question is, can we change things in the simulation? Because if I'm the artist, if I'm able to express my emotions, my art in that canvas, which is the simulation, which is the world, in the way of passions, fears, dreams, and desires. Can I change that? Can we all change that? So this book, I found it so interesting because actually this book gives you like some keys for those people who really believe that we are living in a world that we can change. And I think we can change the world just by having a different perspective of the world, by changing our ways, not our ways of behaving, but our ways of thinking about things, about how we how we see other people, how we see circumstances. So I want to read all the keys because all the keys that he wrote in that books are so important. The first one is the divine matrix is the container that holds the universe, the bridge between all things, and the mirror that shows us that we have what we have created. That's very profound. That's very deep, because if the world is the canvas, so the canvas and we are the painters, it means that what we see in the world is what we have painted and what the rest of the world has painted. And if you have painted violence, hate, that's what is going to be reflected in the canvas. That's what you're going to see on the news. Violence, discrimination, war, and all those things are the things that people have painted for millennia. Key number 2. Everything in our world is connected to everything else. And that is so true. We are so connected. Everything that happens to a society will affect the others, will affect the neighbors. Now let's think about global warming, if that exists. But there's something happening in our atmosphere. There's something happening, and it's changing the weather, the global weather, and that is affecting all of us. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Weather is affecting all of us, and that's just an example how things, how we are connected. When we are talking about the weather, we are connected. When we're talking about the weather, like there's a hurricane, it doesn't matter. There's a hurricane coming, so you have to. It doesn't matter if you're educated or not, if you have money or not. There's a hurricane coming, so you have to take care of yourself, of your family. If there's an earthquake, the earthquake doesn't care where you live, where you have studied, if you have earnings, if you have bank accounts. So those things really make us think that we are sort of connected, at least from the nature point of view. Key number 3 says the force of the to tap the force of the universe itself. We must see ourselves as part of the world rather than separate from it, and that's so true. We need to understand that we are part of the universe. We are part of everything in life. I don't know if you know that we are made of dust from the space. Cosmic dust. That's our bodies. Our bodies are made of cosmic dust. And we are connected. And we have to realize that, and we need to understand that if you think from a biological point of view, from a cellular point of view, we are connected. From a molecular point of view, we are connected. Number four, once something is joined, it is always connected, whether it remains physically linked or not. And that is very interesting too. We are always connected. Sometimes we think that we don't care about the other people, we don't care about what's going on in other countries, but everything that happens in another place is going to affect us somehow, from an economic point of view, from a political point of view, anything, health, anything. So we really should be aware of that. Key number five, the act of focusing our consciousness is an act of creation. Consciousness created. Consciousness creates. So if we think ourselves as a human species, everything that we have built so far, our cities, our educational system, our political system, that's part of our own creations. If we talk about politics, for example, we choose our politicians, so we're giving them power to decide for us, to spend the money for us. So actually, we are creating, we are co-creators, we are co-creators, and even though they are doing it, we allow them to do it for us. So we are co-creating, and that happens everywhere, every time. So everybody's creating. We are creating our societies. That's why people need to be more involved in social issues, cultural issues, political issues, because somehow everybody has a voice and everybody has the free will of participating and of course participating without respecting other people's freedoms. Key number six, we have all the power we need to create all the changes we choose. Yes, we have the power, but sometimes our pride doesn't let us do that, doesn't let us use our power to create things for the common good of everybody. Key number seven, the focus of our awareness becomes the reality of our world. Yes, we need to be aware of that. As a species, we need to be aware of that we are a whole civilization, let's say, that we need to care about everybody. We are so connected to each other, and even though if we don't care, if we think we won't be affected by that, we will. So we really need to be aware of that. Key number eight, to simply say that we choose a new reality is not enough. I think what he meant here is that we really need to take action. Just not saying, I want to change this reality. We need to take action. We need to speak up. We need to tell others what we think. The world could be different if we actually express our ideas, our reasons for things. What I'm trying to say is that we actually need to tell the world what we think the things need to be done in order to make a better world. That's what I mean. Key number 9. Feeling is the language that speaks to the divine matrix. Feel as though your goal is accomplished and your prayer is already answered. And we talk about feelings. And we also say that actually it is proven by different methods, by different scientists too, that feelings really affect our bodies, affect our health, affect everything that we do every day. So feeling is the language that speaks. That's I really agree with that. I really agree that feeling is the language that speaks to the divine matrix. So if the divine matrix is a canvas and we are the painters and we use brushes as tools, that means that those brushes are our feelings and emotions. So that's why we really need to give the world high frequency emotions such as love and compassion to start drawing a canvas that is really a beautiful canvas, a canvas that everybody can live in happily, can live in without I don't know, without fighting each other, without any wars. And because I'm running out of time, I want to finish with key number 10 because there are more keys that I want to finish next time. Not just any feeling will do. The ones that create must be without ego and judgment. So we have to get rid of the ego and judgment, and we have to start creating our world with love, with compassion, and we have to start thinking as a society, as we are one, we are united, and that's the only way the canvas is going to mirror back a different reality. So next time we turn on the TVs, we're gonna hear something different. We're gonna hear good news. We're gonna hear hope. We're gonna hear the things that we have always wanted to hear. Well, I think this is gonna be all for today. So remember, Cultural Interface is every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and you can log on www.nnradio.com. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day and see you next time.
Cultural Interface with Ivan Moreno every Thursday at 7 p.m. Miami hour. Cultural Interface. Present discussions about the ways in which culture creates and transforms individual experiences, everyday life, social relations, and power. The topics will address new questions and problems of today's world. Cultural Interface with Ivan Moreno, founder of Zion International University.